virus vector relationships. So during feeding period, a small relationship has been developed between virus and vector. So now we will see what are the different modes of transmissions or mechanisms of transmission, how the vector acquire the virus and how it transmit. Now we will see in this. So my name is NH Shankar Reddy and I am doing PhD plant pathology in Normal University. So before entering into virus vector relationship, now we'll see some of the terminologies used in virus transmission. So hereafter, the terminology only can be used in further PowerPoint presentation as well as in further studies. So having knowledge on this terminologies will be very important in virus vector relationship. So we'll start with the first one, acquisition access period. Acquisition access period in the sense it is the time for which the initial virus free vector allowed to access the virus source. In the sense initial the time period, the amount of time that is required by the virus free vector to acquire the virus from the virus sources. So the time period that is required, the amount of time that is required by a vector, as vector is initially is a non doesn't contains any virus. So the amount of time that the virus sorry that the vector is taking to acquire the virus from the virus sources, acquisition access period. And the second one is acquisition feeding period. Acquisition feeding period in the sense the time for which initial virus free vector actually feeds on the virus source. In the sense the amount of time that is required to acquire or acquire the virus from the virus source plant is considered as acquisition feeding period. It's very simple. The amount of time that is necessary for successful acquisition or successful taking of virus into vector system. So that is considered as acquisition feeding period. Then third one is inoculation access period. Inoculation access period in the sense time for which a virus carrying vector, because the virus is already acquired the virus. After acquiring, the amount of time that is required by the vector to allow to access the virus free plants and could feed on it, because it in the sense if let us consider if the plant acquired virus or the infected vector that is feeding on a particular plant, the amount of time required to inoculate into the plant system, it may be varies from vector to vector. Some vector maybe need to feed on 5 minutes to transmit or to to inoculate into the uninfected plants. So some may be varies from hours to minutes, or some may be within seconds. So the amount of time required for a virus carrying vector to inoculate into the new plant, that is inoculation access period. And then fourth one is inoculation feeding period. Inoculation feeding period in the sense the time period for which virus carrying vector appears to be feeding on a virus free plant to transmit it. In the sense the time for which virus carrying vectors appears to be feeding on a virus free plants. So the symptoms after inoculation, the amount of time that is required to the initial expression of symptoms to the vector is considered as inoculation feeding period. Then fifth one is transmission threshold or inoculation threshold or inoculation access threshold. In the sense the initial time period that is required by a vector to acquire the virus and to inoculate into the virus free plants. In the sense, let us consider if it is acquired by it acquires, so vector acquires the virus in some places, and then it requires some it may go to some other places by maybe it will go by tomorrow or day after tomorrow, it maybe go by immediately. What they are trying to sell, the initial amount of time period that vectors required to access to acquire the virus and to inoculate, or the time period between acquisition of virus and the transmission of virus or inoculation of the virus into the virus free plants, that is transmission threshold or inoculation threshold. Then the sixth one is infectivity capacity or retention period of vector. Infectivity capacity or retention period of vector. Here the time period for which a vector carries or retains or transmits the virus to the host plants and it remains viruliferous. The name itself indicates infectivity capacity. So the time period that the vector requires to inoculate or to carry or to transmit or to retain a virus into the host plants and it remains viruliferous in the sense, so if the vector is carrying a particular virus, the amount of time period that is required that it become viruliferous is considered as infectivity capacity or retention period of a vector. The last one is incubation period or latent period. Incubation in the sense incubating, or the how can I say that, the time period that they are taking rest for the next infection, like that. So incubating, so the time period from which the start of acquisition feeding period until the vector can infect the healthy plant virus. In the sense, after acquiring into the plants, into the vector, it incubate into the incubate, or how can I say that, maybe taking a rest, something like that. So it incubate into the vector, and then it can infect into the healthy plant. In the, how they are, what they are trying to say is the time period between acquisition feeding period by the vector. As I told you, what is acquisition feeding period? In the sense, the time in which the initial virus free vector allowed to access the virus source, that is acquisition feeding period. What they are trying to incubation is, after acquisition of virus into the vector system, the time that requires that infect into the healthy plant virus, that is called as incubation period or latency period. So this diagram represents, so let us consider it is an infected vector. So if it is feeding on a uninfected plants, what will happen, the virus which is present inside, it will slowly goes through food canals or salivary glands. Through salivary glands it enters into the plant system and it can infect the healthy plants. If it is a, if let us consider, if the plant is get infected, so the plant will be there in the cells, while the insect or the vector while sucking it, the virus which is also present in, I mean the virus also can acquire through that sap, or which is present already get infected in the plant system. So through salivary glands or through plant juice, it can enters into the vector system. So now it become viruliferous, and if it is go and feed on some other uninfected plants or healthy plants, the virus which is present in the vector can transmit. So this is the way how the vectors can transmit the plant virus. Now we will see what are the different modes of transmission one by one. So through no making should take a look on this, the salivary glands, how the plant virus acquire, and this is a foregut, and this is the hemocoel, and this is the hindgut, the different body parts of insect vector. The, so based on the type of transmission, the vector will settle, or the vector will circulate all over the body of insect. So the methods will be there that I will explain one by one. So before entering into that, Watson and Roberts, who first gave the concept of virus-vector relationship. So these are the first scientists who gave the concept of virus-vector relationship. So how the virus-vector relationship is important, what are the methods of different virus-vector relationships are involved in. So based on the retention time by the vector, there are two types of virus-vector relationship, three types, sorry. So first one is a non-persistent, second one is persistent, third one is semi-persistent. So non-persistent and persistent type was coined by Watson and Roberts, whereas semi-persistent was, the term was introduced by Sylvester in the year of 1958. Maybe this type of questions may ask in net exams. So I am coming once again. Watson and Roberts give the concept of virus vector relationship based on the retention capacity. Retention means the amount of time that can require the acquisition of plant virus into the vector system is called retention. So here there are three types of virus vector relationship based on the retention of time by the vector. The first one is non-persistent, second one is persistent, third one is semi-persistent. And one more thing is virus vector relationship is also based on the site of retention, where the particular site that vector is feeding. So the site of retention of the virus and vector is also can be based on in virus vector relationship. Based on the site of retention, the virus vector relationship is Tylett bond, circulative, propagative, transoral transmission. These are the different types of virus vector relationship based on the site of retention. So now we will see one by one. Now we will start with first one, non-persistent viruses. So non-persistent virus is also called as stylet bond transmission, in the sense stylet is mainly involved in the transmission of plant viruses, that is called stylet borne. So non-persistent viruses are stylet borne viruses, very important. Sometimes they may ask like this, non-persistent viruses are also called as stylet borne viruses, like this they will ask. So during this non-persistent transmission or stylet borne transmission, the virus are acquired by the vector during probing and feeding on the host parenchyma, including epidermal cells. Let us consider if the vector or insect which is feeding on parenchyma cells or which is feeding on the epidermal cells. So during this time, the virus which is present in the parenchyma cells or epidermal cells, what will happen? The vector can acquire it, because the stylet borne viruses are mainly feed from plants through from parenchyma or epidermal cells. So during this acquisition period, acquisition feeding period from parenchyma or epidermal cells, the virus can acquire into the vector body. So probing can take a little amount of time, that to 5 seconds. So within 5 seconds the plant can acquire into the vector system. So the vector doesn't need to feed on much more time. So within 5 seconds what will happen? The virus which is present in the infected tissues that can acquired into the body of vector. So the vector become viruliferous or vector become infective immediately after feeding. Like I told you, within 5 seconds the plant viruses get into the vector body. After that, the vector immediately become viruliferous or infective immediately after feeding. Immediately after feeding, what will happen? The vector become viruliferous. Within seconds it become viruliferous. So virus lost its vector during molting. So after reproduction or next generation, what can I say is, after next generation or during molting, what will happen? The virus lost its vector, or virus lost its infectivity to transmit from one plant to another plant, and there is no latent period can be observed in non-persistent type of transmission or stylet borne type of transmission. So these such viruses are mechanically transmissible. So this type of viruses are mechanically transmissible, and also transmitted by it can also possible to transmit by mechanical transmission. So the acquisition fasting period increases the acquisition of virus and transmission. In the sense, if the vector is in fasting or vector don't able to get food, or it can't able to get food from maybe one day, not I can't say 1 day or 2 day like that. It is in fasting. It is in fasting, so it can increases the acquisition feeding time. So it is in hungry, so that it can fastly acquire the plant virus. So the examples that are comes under is a non-persistent type of non-persistent viruses stylet borne transmission is cucumber mosaic virus, bean common mosaic virus, potato virus Y, pea seed borne mosaic virus, potato ring spot virus, or potato mop top virus. So these are all the different types of virus that comes under non-persistent virus. It is a very important, not to, I mean not this part non-persistent. I'm telling you this virus vector relationship is very important. That's why I'm coming once again. Non-persistent viruses are also called as stylet borne viruses. So this viruses during probing and feeding period from parenchyma cells and epidermal cells, the virus can acquire into the vector system. So it requires very less time. So that is within 5 seconds the virus can acquire the vector can acquire the virus. So vector become infective immediately after feeding. So immediately after feeding, the virus can able to transmit, or virus can able to infect another plants. So virus lost its vector during molting, and there is no latent period can be observed. So this type of virus is also mechanically transmissible. So example has been given here. The second one is semi-persistent or forget borne transmission. So as like of a non-persistent, so non-persistent otherwise called as stylet borne, in the sense, so the after acquiring, the virus come and settle in stylet, and the stylet is mainly involved in transmission of plant virus, that is called non-persistent or stylet borne. Here semi-persistent or forgot borne, in the sense the after acquisition period, what will happen? The virus come and settle in forget. So forget is mainly involved in transmission of plant viruses. So the semi-persistent virus is otherwise called as forget. We can see here different body parts. Some some viruses may be settled on salivary glands. Some viruses may be settled in food canals. Some viruses may be settled in foregut. This is foregut. Some viruses may be settled in hemolymph. Some viruses may be hindgut. Some viruses may be midgut. These are all the different body parts of insects where the virus can settle and it can transmit the plant viruses. I told you non-persistent virus is otherwise called as stylet borne, whereas semi-persistent otherwise called as forgot borne. In non-persistent, what will happen? It requires a very less feeding time, so that the virus can acquire and can immediately can become viruliferous to transmit that virus. In semi-persistent, what will happen? Acquires from phloem and it requires a long feeding period. Here we can see long feeding period, 10 to 100 hours can be required to transmit the to transmit, not only transmit, to acquire the plant virus. So if it is feed on 9 hours, it won't get become viruliferous. So it needs the time period, it needs to feed on a particular infected plant in time period between 10 to 100 hours. That is a very long feeding period for a vector. So no latent period can be observed, and these do not circulate and multiply inside the body of vector. Some transmission types or some viruses maybe multiply and circulate inside the body, but this type of transmission, that is semi persistent or forget borne transmission, there is no they do not circulate inside the plant body, and they do not multiply inside the vector. Inside the vector, infectivity lost in molting, as like of non persistent, infectivity lost during molting. So these are highly vector specific. The semi persistent viruses are highly vector specific, which means you need a particular vector, a specific vector, then only it can retain or it can acquire and it can transmit the plant viruses. If some other non specific vector will come and feed on for 10 hours, maybe 100 hours or 200 hours, it won't get acquire the virus, and it may acquire the virus, but it lost maybe infectivity because of it is a highly vector specific. So the examples of viruses that is transmitted through semi persistent or forgot borne transmission is Cystis virus, cauliflower mosaic virus, uh, B. Tellos virus. These are some of the virus that comes under semi-persistent or forgot-borne type of transmissions. Here the one more thing is the vector particles does not found in hemolymph or progeny of a vector, and next progeny or in the next generation there is no virus particles or the virus infections in the sense of virus inocula which is present in the hemolymph of a progeny and the next generation. Let us consider if the mother acquired the virus, it can ends with this. So there is no further transmission like of genetic exchange or something like that won't happen here. If it is if the mother get infected, that will ends with the mother alone. It won't get transmitted to infants or progenies of a vector. So in semi persistent type of transmission it will happen. So non-persistent and semi-persistent viruses, those domains are in coat protein and another protein called helper component. Another protein called helper component. So here the helper component is involved in non-persistent and semi-persistent virus domains. So this is about semi-persistent. Third one is persistent viruses. So here in persistent viruses, so virus required a long feeding period. So virus requires a long persistent period. So the vector has to feed more than 100 hours to acquire the virus. In some cases, whole life cycle of vector is required to acquire the virus. So it has to feed more than 100 hours. Then only it can acquire the virus. So the virus multiply and circulate inside the body of vector. In non-persistent and semi-persistent, the virus can't multiply and circulate inside the body of vector. But in here of persistent viruses, it can multiply and circulate inside the body of vector. Once it enter into the body of vector, what will happen? It circulate and multiply inside the body of vector. So the number of viruses can also be increased and multiplied inside the vector itself. So the latent period is present here. Latent period is present and molting has no effect. Before that, during a non-persistent and then semi-persistent viruses, after one molting, what will happen? The virus can't able to transmit or it lost its infectivity. But here molting has no effect on virus, so that it can transmit from one generation to another generation or from one offspring to another offspring. So after virus uptake, alimentary canal, gut, and it circulates to all over the body, and here after in body fluid of hemolymph or salivary glands, causing the contamination via saliva transmission. So what happened here? So it already there in the entire body system, so that it can easily circulate and it can contaminate. It can transmit through saliva and all the other body parts. So also called as circulative type of transmission, or circulative propagative or transferal type of transmission also comes under the persistent type. So what are all the example of viruses that can be transmitted through persistent type? Or the persistent type of viruses are potato leaf roll virus, rice dwarf virus, potato yellow dwarf virus, barley yellow dwarf virus. These are all the viruses comes under persistent type or persistent viruses. Here one more thing that we have to remember is transorial transmission or transorial type of transmission means the transmission of virus from parent to offsprings via ovaries. Through ovaries, what will happen here? The virus will transmit from parent to offspring through ovaries or eggs. What will happen? It transmit from parent to offspring is considered as transorial transmission. Here in persistent type of transmission, again types will be there. Now we'll see. The first one is persistent circulative non-propagative type. Persistent circulative propagative type. In persistent type of transmission, there are two types: non-propagative type and propagative type. Now we will see in non-propagative type, the virus passing from insect gut to the hemolymph. It passes through from insect gut to hemolymph and hemolymph of the vector, eventually reaching to the mouth part. So it, in the sense, it circulate inside, but it can't multiply. So what we had seen earlier, the persistent type of viruses circulate and multiply inside the body of vector. In persistent type, there are two types, that is non-propagative and propagative. In non-propagative type, it circulate to the entire body from gut to hemolymph and vector, hemolymph of the vector, and reaches to the mouth parts during infection or during transmission, but it not multiply inside the vector. Non-propagative type of persistent circulative non-propagative type of transmission, it won't multiply inside the vector. So the virus pass only to the circulatory system from gut and back to the salivary glands. So it pass to the circulatory system from the gut and again it back to the salivary system during, if I feed and it have to infect, so it have to again come back to salivary glands. The starving period or fasting period of acquisition does not influence the ability to acquire vector. Even though it is in fasting or in starving period, it has no effect on or ability on acquisition of viruses. So these viruses cannot be usually transmitted by sap or mechanical transmitter. Best examples are all Gemini viruses or many leafhopper transmitted viruses are comes under this persistent circulative propagative type. Persistent circulative propagative type. So examples are beet curly top virus, maize streak virus, wheat dwarf virus, that are comes under persistent circulative non-propagative type of transmission. Then second one is persistent circulative propagative type of transmission. In persistent transmission, there are two types: persistent non-propagative and persistent propagative. We are already seen non-propagative. Now we are seeing propagative type of transmission. In plant viruses, circulate and also multiply inside the propagative of plant viruses. It can circulate inside the body of vector and inside the body of host plant. That they are telling circulated and also multiply in the propagative plant viruses. They also multiply in the propagative plant virus. And the next point, what they are telling, virus multiply both the plants as well as the insect vector. In persistent type, in persistent propagative type, the virus can multiply body of plants as well as inside the vector. There should be evidence that virus particles number should be increases following acquisition of vector. Here in persistent in persistent propagative type, so there is an evidence that virus particle number should be increased followed by the acquisition of vector. After acquisition of vector, the number of virus particles can be increased in the sense that they are multiplying inside the body of vector and in plants also. Examples is potato leaf roll virus, Myzessa persicae, so that is transmitted by the vector. The wound tumor virus, which is transmitted by leafhopper, that is a transorially transmitted through offsprings, which means which are transmitted through ovaries. So the multiplication occurs in the cytoplasm of the cells of muscle, brain, fat bodies, myeloma cells, trachea, epidermals, and alimentary canals. So the entire in the muscles of insect, brain cells of insect, fat bodies or mycetome, trachea, epidermal, alimentary canals of the body parts of the insect that they will usually use to multiply. Some vectors suffer from diseases due to the infection by viruses. So some of the vectors they also get suffered due to this multiplication inside the body of vectors. Some of vectors maybe get suffered. So these viruses considered to have originally as a insect viruses, originating as a insect. These are the originally considered as the insect viruses, insect transmitting viruses, or the origin of the insect transmission of plant viruses. Example is tomato spotted wilt virus, which is transmitted by thrips. Tomato spotted wilt virus is transmitted by thrips.
So now we will see the differences so that will be a little bit easy to understand. So we had seen a non-persistent type, persistent type, and sorry, not semi-persistent type, persistent type. So non-persistent type is called as tiled born. Semi-persistent type is called as forgot born. So mechanical type of transmission can be present in non-persistent, whereas mechanical type of transmission is absent in non-persistent as well as persistent type of transmission. So what are the common symptoms that is produced by non-persistent produce mosaic symptom, that is yellowing or alternate green and yellowing symptoms, and semi-persistent will produce yellowing symptoms, whereas persistent will produce leaf roll and yellowing symptoms. So tissue of virus acquisition, so where the virus or the non-persistent viruses will acquire the virus through from epidermis. While feeding on epidermis, it will acquire the virus, whereas semi-persistent virus will acquire the virus from mesophyll and phloem, whereas persistent viruses also mesophyll and phloem. Whereas fasting period can be has an effect on non-persistent type of transmission, whereas fasting period is no effect on persistent and as well as semi-persistent type of transmission. So acquisition feeding period or acquisition time required is seconds to minutes in non-persistent or styled bond type, whereas minutes to hour in semi-persistent type, minutes to hour in semi-persistent type, whereas hours to days in persistent type. Latent period and retention of virus through molting can be absent in both the non-persistent and persistent, non-persistent and semi-persistent type. So latent period is absent, whereas retention of virus through molting can be absent, or exchange from one generation to another generation is absent in non-persistent and semi-persistent, whereas in persistent viruses latency period is present as well as retention of virus through molting is also present. The virus vector specificity is very low in non-persistent type, whereas in semi-persistent type vector specificity is medium, whereas in persistent type vector specificity is medium to high. Examples are cucumber mosaic virus, potato virus Y comes under non-persistent type, whereas in semi-persistent type citrus testisa virus, cauliflower mosaic virus, beet yellows viruses are comes under semi-persistent, whereas in persistent type rice dwarf virus, papaya leaf roll virus, these are comes under persistent type. These are the differences between three, that is non-persistent, semi-persistent, and persistent. This is very important. So many exams that I had seen many questions from this virus vector relationship.